2, 4, let's go.
It's Heartbeat.
It's a fabulous show.
Alaska.
Hi, Heartbeat Alaska.
It's Heartbeat. Alaska.
Pull up a chair and enjoy the show.
Hear it from Sitka to Barrow. Gather around for Jeannie's show. It's the Alutiiq, the Indian and the Eskimo. It's the Alutiiq, the Indian and the Eskimo.
Welcome one, welcome all.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heartbeat Alaska Native News and Native Information. I'm Jeannie Green. Thank you for joining me. Today, we travel to Kodiak Island to the village of Akhiok. And this is a part one of a two-part series. It's really neat. We walk through Akhiok, Alaska, and listen to the stories of Florence Pestrikoff as she gives us a tour of that village. Don't go away. It's one of those neat shows.
This program was made possible by Coeric Incorporated. Thank you, Coeric, for your generous support.
Heartbeat Alaska is brought to you in part by Brown's Electric Lighting Gallery. Thank you, Brown's Electric, for your generous support of Heartbeat Alaska.
Heartbeat Alaska is also sponsored by the Norton Sound Economic Development Corporation, serving the fisheries of the Bering Strait region.
Heartbeat Alaska is also brought to you by Frontier Flying Service. Thank you, Frontier, for getting Heartbeat Alaska airborne.
This program is also brought to you by ASRC Energy Services, a subsidiary of Arctic Slope Regional Corporation.
Welcome back. Akhiok, Alaska, a village rich with the Alutiiq heritage, and the villagers are working hard to keep it that way through Alutiiq Cultural Week. Florence Pestrikoff tells us how life in Akhiok, Alaska used to be. There's a place some call remote, a place far away, hard to get to, an unlikely spot for heaven on earth. It's a place where the secrets of the ancient ones are revealed with every new dawn. Akhiok. Located at the southern end of Kodiak Island at Alutiiq Bay sits the Alutiiq community of Akhiok. Originally a sea otter hunting site, Akhiok is now home for a little over 50 people who live off the land and waters that surround them. Florence Pestrikoff was born in Akhiok in 1937 and moved to Old Harbor at the age of 14. We caught up with Florence and archaeologist Sven Haakason Jr. of Old Harbor as they took us on a walk through the village of Akhiok.
The village has changed a lot since 1951. In 1965 is when a BIA brought some of the older houses in.
Were most of the houses destroyed after the tidal wave in 64?
No, they weren't affected by the tidal wave.
No?
No, there was just some tidal action out here. But nothing was destroyed.
So it's mainly in the north end and Old Harbor area.
Old Harbor.
And the
I'll show you as we go where the furthest house was on this end. So there were no houses in the back here.
Stop here to tell us whose houses are whose.
Yeah, I was going to say, right about where that house is, actually between those two houses there, the white house, those two houses on the end there, that was the end of Akhiok, going down that way. And where the airport is, there was a lake that we used to skate on. You can see just a little bit of it. This road wasn't here at all. Like I said, there was nothing back here.
And so these are all 65s and these houses here?
These are the older, that's the BIA houses. Yeah, there were some houses right here, very few. Just a very few.
How many
Maybe
people
about three.
lived here?
What I remember, there must have been about 96 to 100 back then. See, this is one of the roads that was here, original road. There was a house right here, which was the church reader's house, Simeon Agnat. Simeon and his two sons lived in that house. And right here was the Phillips house, because they were right, and Nicolocles' house was about right where the road is now. And this hill, when I was little, it looked so high. I don't know if it sunk any or what since the tidal wave. Have you taken a picture of that log house yet?
No.
That's an original for Akhiok. There was a big Arctic entry here. You could see how big it was. Big Sinak. See how big it is? Almost as big as the house. I'll go that way. There's the kitchen cabinets. Homemade cabinets are still there. Look at that, huh? Look at how many coats of paint.
Yeah. All the
See,
years.
look at how low our ceilings used to be. Very low. That would to conserve heat. My dad always said that 6'7" was a good height because he was tall. People used to split salmon right near that creek there. You see it? Oh, look at the ducks. That's neat. What are those, butterballs? And my grandpa's house was right there, right next to the
What was your
road.
grandpa's name?
Wanka.
Wanka?
Moses Nomoff. Do you remember him at all?
Well, I remember Wanka. I never
That's
knew
him.
Okay.
That's only Wanka. He was my mom's dad. Well, look at these skiffs now, huh? All aluminum. This right here was the schoolhouse. It was a two-story. There was a teacherage right next to it where the teachers lived. And a big storeroom. It looked big to me then. Probably was. Okay, this was the road. There wasn't. Yeah, there was a road only as far as there were two houses right there. The Farsovich brothers had homes there. But this was where our house stood. My mom and dad's house, right here. This was our living room right here. And see how small it was. You know what? This was the kitchen. Now that I look over here, yesterday I was so day before yesterday I was so emotional. It kind of got twisted around a little bit. This was the kitchen right here, looking at the edges there. And that was our living room right here. And my bedroom was right there. And then there was my uncle's house right down there. And we had a banya right over there. And that was the Alutiiq, a barabra, right there where you see the tin. I remember it being covered with sod. And then we had a chicken coop right on the side of it. The road is all covered up. My dad used to carry blocks of firewood from down the bank. And we had our outhouse down that way. In fact, we found a hole. And we had a chute that would carry our garbage down to the beach. It was the coils, and Dad used to use it. This is where our banya stood, right here. And my dad had a windmill on top of the Alutiiq to charge the batteries. I remember we had one light bulb he rigged up one bare light bulb that we thought was so neat. And eventually he did get a generator, and the generator house was over there. And we had vegetable gardens that they would plant in the spring before we went to the cannery. First it was Alutiiq, and then after a while it was Mosier Bay. And we'd come back here to check the gardens. And once we came back, we didn't have any more chickens. I guess the dogs got them. I remember reindeer hanging off the ceiling. And, reindeer used to migrate from Carmel to this area. Originally, I think it was a home, a place that they lived, because I do remember a tunnel somewhere in here, a short tunnel going to another area. Yeah. So it must have been a dwelling.
The beautiful thing about this is if you look at all the wood here, for us, as an archaeologist, we never get to see this type of structure because this is all hand-hewn logs, hand-hewn red cedar planks. Most likely your grandfather probably did that. And it's the last standing Alutiiq, which isn't standing very anymore. In the last 3 years, it's collapsed. It'd be nice if the community decided that they would restore it because of its historic value, but it's up to them. I was so excited about seeing this and remembering Larry talking about this that I came and I photographed everything, all the corners, even this stuff, even though it's more recent. But this stuff is the most important here for information on traditional Alutiiq.
Yeah, we used to carry water from that well down there. We can just walk down, huh? The school had a pump for their water, to get their water. We had to carry ours.
You guys were talking about the yokes? What did those look
like? It's just shaped to fit your shoulders. Yeah. Right on top here, so it balance your buckets. Yeah, we used to carry a lot of water. Not as much as we should have, maybe. But, I mean, for wash day especially, and banya, And just look at how far it was to carry the water from. I dreamt about coming back. Really, when I slept, I dreamt about it. And I'm glad to have come back to my childhood place.
Akhiok may be a small village, just over 50 people, but the heart and soul of these Alutiiq people beats louder than life itself. The pride of the people who call this place home can be seen in everyday life. From the caring and sharing that has been tradition since the beginning of time, to the dedication of the youth who are keeping the drum of an ancient culture beating stronger than ever. The people of Akhiok are leading their own into the future, knowing exactly who they are. Like in most schools across the country, the students here are taught the ways of Western society and survival in the outside world. But for 1 week a year in February, the youth combine their heritage with their academics during Akhiok's annual Alutiiq Week celebration.
Oh man, this is great. Once a year, time experience. This is wonderful. I mean, it really shows us that we didn't know much about our ancestors way back in the day, so we all sit down with our elders, get together, and they really tell us a lot about our past history and our ancestors, how they used to live back in their day, how they used to hunt, get their food, fish, dance traditionally with their masks here, and getting with the whole family members and relatives and people from outside, sharing their stories. I mean, it's just a great experience anybody could ever have. I mean, this is great to me. I love Alutiiq Week every year. I look forward to this week every year.
Alutiiq Week is more than a series of workshops and hands-on events. It's a time for the people to look inside themselves and learn more about their culture and their past. There are a variety of things to do during Alutiiq Week, one of which is to create your own hat. But it's more than just carving and bending. It's learning as well. Teacon Simeonoff was raised in the village, but currently lives in Old Harbor, about 40 miles north of Akhiok. An excellent carver and woodworker, Teacon is spending his time teaching the youth of Akhiok how to make their own bentwood hats. It's an age-old tradition that Teacon learned from his elders and was kind enough to share with the rest of us.
These are crooked knives. This is a standard bend knife. It's pretty flat at the base and comes up to a sharp bend. This is a deep bend knife. It's not very flat at the base, but it comes up to a big bend. It's good for making masks, or I like these best to carve. So basically, when I first start out, is I look at the wood and find its natural bending side, and then carve the inside of that. When you carve the inside, it'll make it bend more easier. If you just leave the outside flat, and makes it want to bend naturally. Another type of hat is the two-piece visor. It comes in two pieces and you fit them together. This one's longer, so it'll be for a more experienced hunter. Poplar is kind of my favorite type of wood to bend. It's pretty easy to carve, pretty easy to bend. The pine is easier to carve but harder to bend. Bentwood hunting hat, the more decorative the hunting hat, the more experience you will as a hunter. The spirit of the animal you're hunting, you want to incorporate it into whatever you're onto your hat. So normally on the top part of the hat right here, they carve a little figurine to attract that spirit of that animal you're hunting. And the whiskers, normally they use either baleen or sea lion whiskers. And they decorate that up as much as possible with feathers or beads. The more lines you have, usually the different types of lines they have tells a story of their different hunts they've been on. The more lines you have, the more experience. You see a space here that leaves more room to paint more lines as you get more experience. Basically, wear a hat like this. You want the string to go behind the ear, right on the soft part of the skin going down. That'll hold the hat up, the heavy part up, heaviest part on the front. Basically hold it up. And you can see the longer the hat, the more shade you'll have from the glare, the water as you're kayaking. And the more shade you have, you can see the animal better. And they are pretty clumsy if you don't know what you're doing. You're banging around a lot. So they decorated with trade beads, whiskers, feathers, ivory figurines. The more experience you get, the more elaborate the hat will get.
Throughout the week, these youth will make their own Bentwood hats with the guidance of Teacon Simeonoff. For many of these young people, it's a skill that they will carry with them for the rest of their lives. The same skill that has brought Teacon to this point in his life, where he has become the teacher of future teachers. It's a value that has forever linked the generations of Akhiok together. Thank you everyone for joining us for Heartbeat Alaska. Remember, if you want us to visit your village and do a story on your way of life, please give us a call. Ask for Jeannie Green at 907-563-7440. God bless every single one of you, and join me again next week for Akhiok, Alaska, Part 2.
To purchase a copy of this program, have your credit card ready and call area code 907-563-7440. Or send check or money order to Jeannie Green Productions, 6250 Tuttle Place, number 5, Anchorage, Alaska 99507. Ask for the program number listed below.